Good Friday morning. I'm KHOU 11 meteorologist Kim Castro. We are watching a front on this Friday. It is making its slow jog into the viewing area now, approaching our far western counties and starting to get towards Washington and Austin at this pace that it's jogging at around 25 to 30 miles an hour. When can we expect to see some of those heavy downpours, potentially some wind, the flashes of lightning associated with this line of storms? At around 1:30, that's when we expect this main front to pass through the area, the downtown area. Spring at around 1 o'clock, Katy around 12:30, and within just a couple of minutes, Eagle Lake at 11:22, El Campo by 11:44, East Bernard by around the lunch hour. So here's what we're looking at right now with this line. There are a couple of areas that you notice, the reds, the deep oranges. Those are some heavy downpours. So rainfall rates of around 2 to potentially 3 inches with some of these cells. So a quick downburst and downpour is possible, although the majority of the areas surrounding this rain, very manageable rates. So a quarter to a half an inch of rainfall, we can certainly handle that. But just bear in mind, if you're hitting the road and headed out from our far northern and western counties, again, Washington and Austin, you're going to see those slick roads and some hazardous driving conditions. Some of those rainfall rates that are a little bit on the heavier side will cause you to have reduced visibility and having those windshield wipers working overdrive. So Brenham right now seeing that shower activity. Industry, we're seeing some moderate to heavy shower activity. In Columbus, you're starting to see that too. Eagle Lake, not quite to you just yet. We're just starting to see some light green showing up on radar. So you'll start to see some of those heavier bands here within the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. And then again, making its jog towards the city center as we head into the lunch hour and beyond. So main impact areas right now are far western counties. This front is going to make its push from west to east within the early afternoon time frame. As we head into the evening hours, those showers will become more scattered. But right now it's a sweeping motion of some moderate to heavier rainfall within those areas that we're seeing with the green, with the orange and the deeper reds. But for the most part, it's a thin line of storms, so it's definitely scaled back on its energy and its intensity. It was passing through San Antonio, Dallas area with a little bit more strength. So right now it's competing with a piece of energy that's offshore and losing some of its momentum and some of its intensity. Within this main line of storms, we're watching lightning strikes and lightning intensity over the last 10 minutes. This really tells us whether or not these storms are intensifying or whether or not they're sustaining or weakening. Right now, 95 strikes over the last 10 minutes. The difference between negative and positive strikes, we like to use this differentiator in order to tell the strength of the strike. So positive strikes are 10 times stronger than the negative ones, and it's because they come from the top of a thunderstorm. If you think about the height of a thunderstorm, lots of these are 30,000 feet. So if it's coming from the top, it's got a lot more distance to travel, and because of that, it has more heat and it has more power. Negative strikes right now, the ratio is pretty evenly split, so we're not seeing a big strengthening when it comes to these storms. We've seen quite a bit of rain during the overnight hours, and that's ahead of the main line of the storm. I want to show you some of those rainfall totals over the last 12 hours. You might have been woken up by some of those heavier downpours. I know I was. I had the window open to let in that cooler air, and I heard the shower activity happening at around 1, 2 o'clock this morning. So League City area already seen 1.5 inches accumulated. Right now there's a lull waiting for that front, but just the overnight shower activity has already given us a pretty sizable radar indicated rainfall rate there. The island saw some consistent shower activity not only during the overnight hours but for this morning as well. Brazosport area, Angleton area, about 1 inch there, and Palacios about 1.5 inches too so far. So here's the timing of the storm. Like I mentioned, main impacts beginning right around the lunch hour. So right now we're seeing that shower activity, the main cold front lined up against our western counties, Washington, Austin, Colorado, getting into Wharton and getting into Matagorda here shortly. By the lunch hour, I-10, the Katy Freeway, you're going to see that thick red band of radar indicated heavy rain. So just keep that in mind. That's going to be a trouble spot if you are planning to head out from work early. Perhaps just do an early day shift on your Friday and head back home after the lunch hour. You're going to want to maybe hunker down and try to avoid. This is going to be the heaviest rain impacts for I-10, the Katy Freeway. As we head into the 1:30 hour, we'll start to see those downpours focused around the Loop and the Beltway, and then starting to push to our far northeastern counties now. So San Jacinto, Polk, Liberty, northern Liberty, you're seeing some of that radar indicated heavy rain. And then we'll be watching for our southernmost counties too. So along the coast, Matagorda, Brazoria, not only are we watching the heavy rain impacts there, but potentially some wind turbulation could cause some spin ups. There's a very small possibility for that, but it's not a zero. At this moment in time, it looks like the instability from this front is starting to wind down, so that's some good news there. It looks like for the most part, most of us will just be dealing with some quick, heavy downpours and some gusty wind as that front pushes through. 2:30 time frame, still seeing those bands lingering in the city center and still for Matagorda, Brazoria. So if you are planning to head to downtown, if you're planning to head to the juice box and get started on celebrating the Astros and game 1 of the World Series early, just bear in mind it's going to be tough going between 1 and about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Thereafter, you'll notice the shower activity really starts to wind down, especially I-10 and areas north. Still seeing some heavy shower activity expected for Brazoria County at that moment in time, and things really settle down for all of us 5 o'clock and beyond. Could we still see lingering showers by the time the game kicks off? Absolutely. So don't run late. Get to your plans early. You have that lull about 4:30 to 6:30 to get to where you're going, and then we see another round of some shower activity, isolated and scattered, but potentially still seeing a couple of heavy downpour spots there. So game time forecast, first pitch, we're going to see those temperatures really sit pretty idle for the day. We've just got too much cloud cover out there, so we're not going to see a lot of fluctuation in terms of the feel outside. 60s throughout the day, 69 degrees at first pitch, still a hit or miss chance, 50-50 to see an isolated stray shower, but luckily we've got the roof. No impacts to the game. Impacts getting to the game, though. You want to make sure you're avoiding rushing today. Certainly you do not want to be caught in a time constraint, because you will run into those trouble spots. By the time the game wraps up, low 60s and very low end shower chances. We'll just see a few lingering scattered showers, but nothing to worry about in terms of wide coverage and heavier intensity. Main threats for today, again, damaging wind. So some gusts could potentially get up to 50, maybe 60 miles an hour, but for the most part, a lot of these cells will be contained at around 30 to 40 miles an hour as they pass through. Small hail possibility, but it's very minimal at this moment in time. Tornadoes, very minimal possibility there. Not a total zero, but something we're not as concerned with when it comes to widespread impacts. It'll be wind and the potential for some localized street flooding, especially in some of these areas that have seen the heavy rain from this morning, and we'll be adding to that this afternoon. The predominant threat for heavy rain, you'll notice, stays out of the viewing area, so to the north, and then it stays again along the coast. So Matagorda, Brazoria, you could be one of those spots that gets an isolated 3 to 4 inches of rainfall, but for the most part, it's going to be a widespread 1 to 2 inches for all of us that see those heavier downpours, and of course, lower end areas could see less than an inch, but that's the ballpark range, 1 to 2 inches. Some localized areas along the coast potentially seeing more than that. Severe threat, predominantly south of I-10 and mainly towards the southwest quadrant of the viewing area. So you'll notice me repeatedly mention Matagorda, Brazoria. Those are going to be the areas that we're focused on in terms of severe potential, and that's where the Storm Prediction Center has flagged the possibility to see a spin up. It's a low end possibility, a 2 on the 1 to 5 scale, but again, just 5% chance. We'll be watching radar closely to monitor any wind working in opposition to the thunderstorm cell that could indicate any rotation. We'll be taking a close look at that, and we're going to have team coverage all afternoon. So during the noon show, it'll be myself and meteorologist Tim Pandages, and then for the 4, 5, 6 o'clock hours, it'll be meteorologist Tim Pandages and our chief, David Paul. 7-day forecast, the good news, once we're through this front, we will see a nice break. Now, Saturday will be the transition day, still breezy, not so comfortable. Now, as we head into Sunday, we see the return of sunshine, the settling of the wind, and a little bit of warmth, which will make it feel more comfortable, mid-70s there, and a nice trick-or-treat forecast then. We get a break from the rain and then return it again as we head into the following week. We'll have a detailed look at the 7-day forecast, but for now, make sure you've got the KHOU weather app downloaded so you can get any alerts straight to your phone.